to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 150. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
But that's not going to happen. Instead, for the last couple of years, we've been traveling vicariously by inviting guests to share their unique travel stories with us.
It's been awesome, and our podcast has been all over the globe.
Now we're taking some time to revisit the Wish You Were Here segment of our show, where we each share travel attractions that we recommend.
This week's Wish You Were Here's are from the Southwest.
Southwest!
Yeah.
Like last week, it's not the entire Southwest. It's just
Yeah.
the Southwest that we've been to and shared about.
Yes, absolutely. And I am excited about these things. I think they're going to be fun. You and I have both been to Galveston, but at different times than
Yes.
each other. So we
Yes.
share about Galveston. It's just Texas and Arizona, if we're being honest with ourselves, is what we
Yeah.
talk about. But
Yep.
there's some pretty cool things there.
There are. Yeah. Well, and you've even threw a zoo in there, Cheryl.
Yeah. You wouldn't think so because it's called a museum, but it is a zoo, and it's
But it's
pretty
actually
fun.
a zoo.
Yeah.
Museum.
Oh, well, our zoo here in Seattle has the Zoom-masium.
Okay.
Have you heard of that? It's
I don't
been there
feel
for a
like I
while.
have, but
the
maybe I have.
Zoom-masium, but then my brother-in-law thought it was pronounced the Zoom-museum, which is also good. So
That clearly must be what it is.
yeah. But if you're heading to Arizona or Texas, then we have a couple recommendations for you.
Okay, what's your wish you were here, Cheryl?
My wish you were here is everything that is not that. Not Trollhaven. Anywhere else is where I wish I was. Okay, so mine is actually kind of infringing on your territory a little bit. So I
What?
think you do know. I know. I'm very sorry. I think you
Are you really
probably.
sorry, though?
No, I'm not. You
It's
probably
interesting.
know more about this than I do, but I'm the one that's been there. And so I will share about it, and then you might need to fill in some of the facts if you're aware of them. So
Okay.
this is in Arizona, outside of Tucson, specifically in Oracle, Arizona,
Okay.
because that's a place.
Yeah, never been there, but I trust you
and
that it
no,
exists.
Yeah. I've called it the Biodome, but on the internet it's calling it the Biosphere.
Okay.
I think maybe it goes by both. You know it as the Biodome, correct?
I had heard it as the Biodome, but maybe it's Biosphere.
Technically, it is the Biosphere 2 because Earth is the first one, which made me laugh very hard when I heard that.
That makes sense. Sure.
And Mr. Science, can you please explain what that means? Because I will not do as well of a job as you will.
Yes, but first I'm going to explain, and I'm a little embarrassed about this, why we both thought it was Biodome and not Biosphere.
Okay.
Because there was a 1996 movie called Biodome.
Okay, I haven't seen that movie.
Me neither. I remember when it came out, and it looked really dumb then, and it probably still was, but that's probably why that name is in our heads.
Okay, but also, like, I'm Googling, like, Arizona Biodome, and there is also stuff about the Biodome in Arizona. So I think, like, it's
Right,
called
but-
that as well.
It could, but I think it's probably because of the movie.
I think officially it is
Which
called the
makes me sad.
Biosphere 2.
Yes.
And
So
the
the
fact
idea-
that there's a 2 on it delights me to know
That
it.
is really, yeah, I enjoy that. So the
Yes.
idea is, and it actually is more pertinent now almost than when they made it,
I know,
but
right?
was trying to have a self-contained ecosystem where it was completely sealed, like airtight, watertight from the rest of the world, to see if we could just maintain enough oxygen and food and everything. I think ultimately the idea was to build a colony on another planet or somewhere like that, I think. But then you could also run experiments where, what if you change this about the environment? How does that affect things and stuff like that? So, I mean, it's a legit scientific endeavor, I believe.
Well, yeah, and they had people live in it for a couple of years.
Yeah, and it didn't go as well as they thought.
Oh, yeah, we learned about that.
Yep.
We learned about like the personality issues of the small group, which was like really funny because so pretty much I got to tour it, and it's a cool tour. Yeah, you get to go inside.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know. It's very cool. And then also they talked about like what went wrong with the experiment and there was a point where like apparently none of them were told who the leader was. And so, like, there was some, like, decision-making things that had to happen that, like, there ended up being, like, 2 camps. Because it was a small group, like, maybe 6 people or something like that lived in there. Their original plan was for 2 years. But then eventually they were, like, malnourished. And so they weren't able to stay for the whole time.
I thought there was an injury, too, wasn't there?
Maybe. Yeah. And mainly they talked about how, like, they were getting enough calories, but they weren't getting enough, like, nutrients with the... Because it's, like, the whole, like, they need to be able to sustain, like, and make all of the food that they need to eat and all that stuff.
Right.
And so, but yeah, you get to tour it. There's, like, I want to say 5 different, like, climate areas. And so there's, like, a desert one and, all these different ones. It's the same as that greenhouse that I went to in Madrid. This is the same thing.
Basically, you just went
thought.
back to Biosphere 2. Okay, got it.
But it's so interesting. It was very cool.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, my dad actually got to visit it when there were people living in it. And obviously at the time, you wouldn't be able to go in, but you get to go to the outside and learn about it. And he like saw one of the people through the window and everything, which would be such a weird thing to be like that alone with a small group and then also have people
watching you.
Your facility.
Yeah, that would be really weird.
Yeah, it'd be like being in a zoo or something. But yeah, I would totally recommend it if somebody is in the Tucson area. I would say go out, check out the Biosphere 2, because it's a great tour. It's fascinating. And you're right. I think today it's more interesting than ever considering like the purpose of it is to see like if people could live on another planet. And now it's like, so, it's cool. It's huge. It's a cool building. Yeah.
That's cool.
Wish you were
I do wish I was there.
Yep. I know. You just want to go live in a biodome.
Well, no, but I would like to visit one. Cheryl?
All right. Well, mine is the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. And I would not say it's actually a museum. So, first of all, misleading
is it a
title,
desert?
Everybody. It is in the desert. It's in Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
I would just call it a zoo, to be honest with you. So it's pretty great because you get to see a lot of Arizona animals. And so I'm guessing they call it a museum because it also has a lot of like a garden aspect to it where there's just a lot of things about cactuses going on there. But yeah, it's really cool because it definitely is like, I guess the other difference would be it's a true local museum where like the animals you're seeing are all local to the area, which is really fun. And so there's even a little like aquarium type of area, which I don't know, that wouldn't be as local because it's not on the ocean, but
no, not really.
It's like river animals or something like that. But yeah, and there's a walk-in aviary. There's a hummingbird aviary as well, and that's just like
what.
There were just so many hummingbirds just like chilling too, and they're so cute. And yeah, just really cool trails to walk around as well. And I some cool like Q&A times where they talked about different desert animals and stuff. And it made me want to never live in Arizona because of all the poisonous things that are in people's yards.
Oh my gosh.
But a cool place to visit. So check it out if you're in Tucson.
Nice.
Cheryl, how about you?
Okay, so I am going to share about the George Ranch Historical Park in Houston, Texas. It's so cool. I went there in 5 or 6 years ago, and it represents over 100 years of history in Houston, and just through like one family line and 5 different homes that were on that property or near that property. So I think it's like most of them are 30 years apart, or 20 to 30 years apart. And then they have actors in the homes like wearing clothing from that time period and acting like it's their house. And so you kind of go through the George family's history by walking into these different houses, and they tell you like, here's my home and this is what we do here and these are my clothes, and just kind of like what life is like and everything. And so some of the houses were actually in their original locations on that property, and then some of them they had to move there, which is always impressive when buildings get moved. I don't understand how that works. But so yeah, it was really fun. The first one's like a pioneer type one, and then and that actor in there was like the most into it out of all the actors. So it's funny because they were like, "Oh, this building's so cool," and he was like, "Thanks, I built it myself," and something like that. Also, so I went with my siblings, and my sister Lisa likes to be pretty like technical about things, and so it was funny because one of the ones, this woman was sharing like all the layers of clothing that the women wore back then, which is just crazy. In Houston, it is so hot. Like, come on, history people, like, be nicer to women. But so she was like, okay, I'm going to show you all the layers they wore, and then she randomly selected Lisa from the crowd.
Oh, no.
Mistake on her part. And said, I want you to count how many layers. And so it was like, here's a petticoat, and here's this, and here's this. And the answer was 10 total, but it was 10 articles of clothing. And so Lisa was like, well, technically there's 8 layers on the bottom and 2 layers on top, so it would be 8. Because there aren't more than 8 layers. Ryan, I feel like you would do that too, actually.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that.
But yeah, it's really fun. It was so interesting. A really unique experience as well. And so I definitely recommend, if you're in the Houston area, to go check that out.
So, Cheryl, what is your wish you were here for this week?
So, my wish you were here this week is in Galveston, Texas. It's a place called Moody Gardens.
Oh.
Which pretty much tells you nothing about what it actually is. I don't think it has any gardens at it.
And it's not like a bunch of moody teenagers hanging out in the garden?
Oh, man. Now I want it to be that. It's funny, actually. Now I'm trying to do some looking online to see how would I even describe this place. It kind of reminds me of like a science center in a way.
Ooh, I approve. Let's go.
And there are ways that you would say, no, Cheryl, that's not a science center. But
well, never mind. How dare you get my hopes up?
So, because there's an aquarium there is an IMAX theater, there are, let's see what else we have. There's like a rainforest section.
What?
I think there's like a butterfly house. And then there's like very silly, like, things. It's like the Star Tour ride at Disneyland where like your seat shakes and you watch this screen and it feels like you're like on this interactive adventure and everything. You're getting very excited. Are you looking it up online?
I'm looking at the website. Nope. And I'm sorry. I laughed because the very first landing page on here, it has a picture of some tropical fish and coral reefs, and it says, "Be a reefer. Help save our coral reefs." And I just thought it was funny.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. It's also
Different
kind of a bummer
reefer.
because one of their first pictures is also of SpongeBob, so that's fine. Yeah, but there are these different pyramids are the different sections of Moody Gardens.
I think I may have seen that when I was in Galveston. We drove past it but didn't go in.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty big. Also, so I went there in maybe 2011. Sounds about like the time I was going there. Not quite sure on the exact year, but so it's
Probably
been
close. Yeah,
it's been a little while. But my siblings and I, we went there together, And we were looking at their website as we were headed there. And there's also like a high level of cheese going on, which like to us makes our enjoyment just even more so.
High level of cheese, as in cheesy, not as in you can eat a lot of cheese.
Ooh, I want a cheese pyramid. That sounds really good. No,
Okay,
it was cheesy. And
like
so,
corny, okay.
like, at the time, they had this Dora the Explorer 4D adventure.
4D.
And it was, like, one of those things with, like, the 3D glasses. And, like, it described, like, the leg ticklers and different things like that. The point was, like, there's the interactive thing. You're watching the 3D thing, and it feels like things are touching you and everything. But we
Okay.
made a lot of jokes with the person we were buying the tickets from about what is the fourth dimension. And we're
Yeah.
like, well, is it time? And it moves forward at a linear rate. And she just was like, we were making all these jokes at her. And she just was like, she's like, no, it's 4D. And we're like, okay. Because this woman is
She
not
didn't
about
understand the
that
problem.
life. Yeah. And then we went on this Happy Feet, like interactive type of ride where like you're in this, like Disneyland does it very well. Where like there's a shaky seat, but it's also kind of smooth, and there's a part where you feel like you're dropping, different things like that. But this is like a low budget version of this, where you walk in this very large room, and it looks like a stadium made up of like only 3 rows of benches that are like 6 seats wide or something like that. It's pretty small, and then it shook you. And my brother-in-law Ben, who like is not about motion, chose to stay out of that one. So that was really good. And it shook you. It was like, hey, do you want to watch 8 minutes of Happy Feet while I shake you a lot? Because that's pretty much what it was. It's like, and so we came out and we're like, Ben, you're the lucky one in this situation that you chose to not go on this one. So like, that's kind of the weird part of it. But then there's also like a cool aquarium, a cool rainforest, like there's some pretty cool things. Definitely like one that you'd bring the kids to. Now I'm just making fun of it because we had a lot of fun making fun of it. But like, there is a paddle boat you can ride on because there's like, what's the landmass called that is Galveston? Like, is it a peninsula, Galveston?
I don't know.
Or
is
a
it a
spit?
peninsula?
What is Galveston?
I mean, a spit is something that you do after brushing your teeth. I don't know because I don't actually know what the geography is.
Because Galveston is on the beach.
Yeah.
It looks, or I guess it's an island. Oh yeah, it's technically an island because it's only connected by bridges.
Oh,
but then it's very close to the land. It's a short bridge.
Yes.
And so there's a bay that's between the mainland and the island. And so in that bay is where you can do this like cool paddle boat ride. The funny thing was the description of the paddle boat said that it was like one of the largest, it was a replica of one of the largest paddle boats to sail the Galveston area, which then we're like,
oh,
that's not impressive.
You mean paddle boat like with a big giant paddle wheel. You don't mean like, you said paddle boat. I was picturing the little tiny two-person paddle boat that you can do.
Like the bicycle pedals, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this
That's
was
not what
like
you're
a big one with like a river cruise paddle boat type of boat.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
So it was awesome.
It's a
it was funny
replica
because
of
like
the biggest one.
It was a replica of one of the largest paddle boats to sail the Galveston area.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So anyway, I'm in love with their website writer clearly because all of this was just like killing me and I loved it a lot. And their marketing team, oh man, it was really fun. We had a great day. I would say if you have kids, bring the kids. Yeah, it was a fun experience. So if you're in Texas, if you're in Galveston, check out Moody Gardens.
Cheryl, what would you like to do for your Wish You Were Here this week?
I would like to talk about a restaurant in Galveston, Texas.
Okay.
So this has been on my list for a while, just as we've brainstormed our Wish You Were Here's. I went there a number of years ago and then finally did some Googling to remember the actual name of the restaurant. It is called The Spot.
Okay.
And so let me give you some context to when I visited this. I was on a trip with my sister Lisa,
who's been on our podcast several times, and her late husband, Ben, who was your best friend. And they were living in Houston at the time. And so they invited all of their siblings to join them at a beach house in Galveston that they rented. And it was a really great trip. I remember
when you guys did that.
Yeah, it was so good. Galveston is fun. I would totally recommend visiting there. It's a really unique piece of land, even an area. And
that I went to Galveston and stayed in that same beach house a couple years later with Ben and a couple of our other friends.
That's right. I totally forgot that.
Yeah. Because you guys had such a good time there, that was a place that when it was in February, it was like I had a midwinter break and went down with myself and a couple other friends to visit Ben. And he's like, we should go stay in this place because it's super fun.
Yeah. And so when we went, it was pretty close or on my sister Lisa's birthday. Maybe it was actually on her birthday when we were down there. And so I had a friend up here in Seattle who used to live in Texas and knew Galveston. And so I asked her, where's a fun restaurant that the 8 of us can go to celebrate Lisa's birthday? And she said, you have to go to The Spot. She said, it's super fun. It'll be so good to celebrate a birthday there. And it was great. We had such a good time. So this restaurant is huge. It is 2 stories and like a couple buildings. It's pretty large and it kind of stretches out. And their actual menu is maybe kind of like a grill, like burgers, sandwiches, milkshakes. They have seafood. I mean, it's in Galveston. Tacos, because we're in Texas, things like that. And then all sorts of fun cocktails and drinks and everything. But they have different rooms. So I remember we ordered at one counter and then just chose a table in a totally different area at this bar area. But it was so fun, music playing. I think they have sports games going, but it's not just TVs everywhere, which I liked. And yeah, it was such a fun atmosphere to be at. So if you're in Galveston, go out with your friends to The Spot.
Cool. The Spot. Just go to The Spot.
Yep. Gotta go to The Spot. Their homepage says you can't go wrong at The Spot, Galveston Island's premier beachfront dining and entertainment destination.
And how about you, Ryan?
I'm going to do one a little bit in between those two. So not here in Washington State, but still in the U.S. And this is in Galveston, Texas. And it's La King's Confectionery. And it's sort of it's a confectionery, of course, because that's the name of it. But it's this fun little, there's an old school soda fountain there, and they've got a bakery, and they've got sweets. And it's just a really kind of fun atmosphere vibe. All of the workers wear kind of like what you'd picture of a 1950s soda fountain worker type, the white with the hats and all that sort of stuff. And it's just kind of a fun place. They've got really good, desserty sorts of things, which is my kind of food. That's what I get excited for, desserts. And I just thought the atmosphere is just really, really fun in there. And there's lots of tables. And at least when I went, there were quite a few people. I think you can watch them make some candy sometimes in places. And so it's just, if you want anything sweet, that is definitely a place that you can go and even just kind of, sit down for a little while, take a rest. It's just kind of I think a fun atmosphere to just hang out for a while with your milkshake or whatever.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. We would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at Timwy Podcast. That's at TMWY for Take Me With You Podcast. We are on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
You can also email us at timwypodcast@gmail.com. Tell us, what are your wish you were here's for this location?
We would love to hear that. You can also call us and leave us a voicemail at 406-763-8699. Or if it's easier to remember, 406-POD-TIMWY.
We would love it if you would rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and share about this episode on your social media.
As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the awesome artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
That's all we have for this episode. So until next time, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you!
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and lightly love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to explore, and all our troubles here wanting to be ignored. Oh, let's go to India and I